Do you think Draymond should be suspended?
It's a hard one for me to call. On one angle, I'm looking at him and I'm saying, damn it, it calls for a suspension because it looked excessive. From another angle, I saw Sabonis grab his ankle, and then you're saying, wait a minute, he has a point there. I gotta admit, I'm torn in that regard. I will tell you what I do believe is going to happen. And I'm praying that it won't, because obviously you need Draymond to win this series, in case you haven't been watching what Sacramento has been doing to them in these first two games. It wouldn't surprise me at all if the NBA suspended him, because look at what the NBA does in this day and age. You do see people get suspended for less. And in this particular instance, because of how it looked, depending on which angle you're looking at it from, I think his explanation helps his case. But I don't know how much it'll help against the NBA, considering how the NBA has really been dogged about making sure any kind of transgressions aren't taking place. Not to mention the fact I don't think it helped that the Sacramento Kings pointed out how the lungs for Sabonis were being examined, MRI, X-rays, etc. They're being examined. Let's see how in other words, they're trying to say he was harmed by that, and as a result, what are y'all going to do about it? And I'm not saying they're faking it by any stretch of the imagination, but it certainly didn't hurt their case to highlight what he's had to endure because of the stomp on his chest, if you want Draymond Green out of this playoff series in any way.
I do not think he should be suspended. Okay. I think the way that it was officiated in real time, a technical and a flagrant 2, indicates 2 players were in the wrong. One, obviously more egregious than the other, but I think because of the play, now if they was rumbling, tumbling, just ended up on the floor and decided to use Sabonis as a step stool to get off the ground, that's a different conversation. But I think the nature of the play, the call in game, I'm cool, dumb plays on both parties, let's move on.
I don't think he should be suspended, and I also think it's important to understand the context of what has happened over the past 2 games. And if you go back to the possession prior to Andrew Wiggins' potential game-winning 3, Sabonis pulls down Draymond, all right? They go basically 4-on-4 the rest of the way. Then there's the play early in the 4th where Draymond gets called for a foul. They eventually overturned it. Then Sabonis knocks Draymond over on the offensive end. He draws a charge. The physicality through 2 games in this series has been extremely high. The way they're grabbing Steph off the ball, and they're allowing it. Like normally, if you bear hug a guy off the ball, they're going to call it. They're allowing it twice, 3 times. Alex Len last night had multiple possessions where he set 3 egregious legal screens. They didn't call it till the 3rd time. So they are letting a lot of plays go. And Monica touched on something. I think this is important. Sabonis initiated this incident. And that's why I think he's not going to be suspended, and he shouldn't be suspended. There are 2 punishments already in place. The technical foul, and here we have, there's an example of Curry off the ball. Here's De'Aaron Fox on Curry here. They're grabbing and holding. Like, the punishment is already in place. Sabonis gets a technical, Draymond gets ejected. The other thing I want to say is we can't sit here and bemoan the lack of physicality in today's game and then want a suspension for Draymond on this.
Right.
In 1984, Kevin McHale, on Danny Ainge's prompting, clotheslines Kurt Rambis, and it's a common foul. We can't have it both ways.
Okay, well.
We can't have it both ways. And I think my last point is, I think you touched on something which is important, which leads me to believe, there's still a possibility he gets suspended, and that's his history, right? The kicking in the 2016 finals, the play on LeBron in Game 4 in the 2016 finals. Like, he's got a history, and the league always factors that in.
Well, let me say this. First of all, I want you to be clear about when you say we can't be this way, because there's a lot of people that abhor the fact that the NBA is so touchy-feely these days. They actually like the physicality. They wish that some of that was allowed. They feel that the egregious part is on a part of the league office, which calls everything and is ready to eject everybody for everything instead of letting the players play. So the vast majority of folks out there don't want somebody suspended. They want you on the court. Now you might have to compare, like if you're Sacramento, you might want them suspended because that obviously serves your best interest. I'm talking about the fan base and stuff like that. But for the most part, if you're watching the Golden State Warriors and the Sacramento Kings, you want Draymond Green on the court. I don't want him suspended. I pray that he doesn't get suspended. But we can't ignore how the NBA has been in recent memory. and how stringent they've been and how dogged they've been against an elevated level of physicality. Everything is under review these days. You're looking for flagrant ones, flagrant twos. You're looking at plays that take place. You're like, really? We got to review that play? Really? Why can't you just let them play? But somehow, some way, they don't do that. And so when you take all of those things into consideration and you see what transpired, I agree with both of y'all, because again, that second footage that I saw, when I saw Sabonis grabbing his ankle, I'm like, yeah, he definitely instigated that. To hell with that. But the NBA may say two wrongs don't make a right. You was far more excessive than him. The Sacramento Kings are saying his lungs got to be examined for crying out loud. We don't know what kind of damage has been done to him.
Draymond said he's got to get an expert on his ankle afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. Which is smart to say. Two can play that game. I'm just saying, when those kind of things come about, you don't know how the NBA is going to react. But we all agree. We hope that, and we don't think he should be suspended. But I don't know if that's not going to happen.
But here's the thing, though, I guess, for me, the next layer of this conversation then becomes, at what point, Draymond, do you absolutely understand how important you are to your squad, right? You have now put this into the hands of the league office, and we are not sure which way they may sway, right, as much as we may agree. And so, to me, we had the numbers. That team scores 23 points after he fouls out or is ejected, with 7 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And so you have to know that in this series, you opened the conversation, Stephen A., talking about his importance, and the numbers bear it out. To me, there's got to be a level of growth from Draymond in understanding that you are far too important to this particular series. And quite frankly, the Kings had not fallen for the antics too heavily in my mind. I mean, yes, there were some things going back and forth, but this to me is just a bonehead decision on his part.
Are the Kings too much for the Warriors?
No, I don't believe so. I still think the Warriors can come back and win this series, and I actually think they've done a good job of executing their game plan defensively. They've done a fantastic job of keeping Fox out of the paint. They've defended the three-point line well. This was their Achilles heel on the road all season. Shooting 30% so far, the Kings are in the series. To me, it has come down to a couple things. Number one, it's clutch time. And De'Aaron Fox has been the best clutch time performer in the league all season. He's 4 for 20 on jumpers prior to the fourth quarter. And he's 7 for 11 on jumpers in the fourth quarter. He's made jumpers. They want him shooting jumpers off the dribble. That is part of their game plan. He's shooting contested jumpers off the dribble, and give credit to him, he's made them. The thing that has happened, and especially in game 2, that always bites the Golden State Warriors is foul trouble and turnovers. 22 turnovers in game 2. Looney, Wiggins, Draymond Green all had at least 5 fouls. Like, you're not going to win a lot of playoff games if you're the Warriors, if those things are happening. My big takeaway from this Warriors team is, this season in particular, their margin of error night to night is much different than it was in the past. Certainly we can talk about the 17, 18, 19 Warriors teams with Kevin Garnett, but they always had connectors coming off the bench, role players, whether it was Andre Iguodala or Sean Livingston or Zaza. They're missing those guys. And so a lot of times they're losing the Steph minutes, which they did again last night and they did in game 1. And so if your margin is we're not going to get to the free throw line, we're a high turnover team, and we foul a lot, then you've got to shoot extremely well. And luckily they have 2 of the greatest shooters ever. I think the 2 greatest shooters ever. And they're shooting 32% from 3 for the series. So their margin of error is small, but I still think they can come back and win this series.
So do I. I believe they can. I'm not giving up on them. I got them winning this series in 7 games. A 7th game back in Sacramento. Yes, that's what I said, even though it looks incredibly daunting, because that home crowd is something special, that home environment. Obviously, De'Aaron Fox is a bonus, and those brothers are on a different level. But I will say 2 things. There have been times in the first 2 games where I've watched Golden State tail off in moments. They amp it up defensively, particularly when Gary Payton II has been on the court. When he gets off of it, they seem a bit compromised without him on the court. I think that's something that Steve Kerr will look at, because we know that he's an exceptional coach and he makes necessary adjustments. The other thing is calling Jordan Poole. It's just me. It's just me. And the reason why I say that is because you know about pace of play obviously far more than I do. Sacramento is not a slow team. They will push the ball up the court every chance they get. You're asking a lot of Steph, of Clay, of Draymond and those guys to do but so much when you don't have guys coming off the bench that can spell for them to some degree. That was supposed to be Jordan Poole. 1 of 7 for 4 points last night. That is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. He's got to do better than that. That's all that I peel from this. I understand how formidable Sacramento is. They are the real deal. Make no mistake about it. I give them a lot of love and respect. But these are the reigning defending champions who are incredibly experienced. And to be in that environment, no playoff game since 2006. And as far as I'm concerned, both games was tight. Listen, Golden State's right there. You haven't played on your own home court yet. They win these next two games, and they absolutely have to. They can't go back to Sacramento down 3-1. They absolutely have to. But if you do that, you put Sacramento in a hole in a pressurized Game 5. If any team's capable of doing that, it's the Golden State Warriors.
Okay. Okay, y'all. I am not ready to get on the stage with our brother Big Perk and say the Kings are going to do it. But I do think the reality of what is happening, we need to really dig into the numbers. And I think when you talk about these two teams, the conversation around the Warriors was largely, they're going to get into playoff mode. They have experience. They're going to turn it on. The Kings have not needed to turn anything on. They've been who they've been all season. When we talk about this Warriors team, yes, they've shot 32% from three, but they also have not turned on any type of defensive switch. They gave up 118 points during the regular season per 100 possessions. They're giving up 120 so far to start the playoffs. They're the worst defensive team left in the playoffs. And so to me, while the shots may fall, you talked about clutch time, JJ, they were 1 for 4 in clutch last night. Klay Thompson being the one that hit a shot. Steph and Wiggins did not connect. As much as clutch time is a thing and their shooting ability is a thing, if they cannot figure out a way to stop the Kings, and they're okay with these terrible numbers. There were points in that game where I'm watching that ball fly around for the Kings, literally holding my breath because it looks a little wild, right? But Mike Brown is like, go, push, do that. They have not figured out a way to stop the Kings. And to me, the Kings are not backing down. And so I'm not sure that they get both at the Chase Center.
I think they have to.
I agree.
Right.
And so to your point, I'm not sure that that actually happens. And to me, the Kings are playing so free. They're playing so aggressive. If Malik Monk keeps up this level of production, I'm just not sure, y'all, because to your point, the mileage and the experience, when it comes down to it, the Warriors have looked a little tired when it matters late.
A few things I want to comment on, and I'll get to your point about the Kings in a second. So you mentioned Jordan Poole, and to me, even the 17 points in Game 1, he was not good in Game 1.
Wasn't.
He was not good in Game 1. The Warriors are going to play with risk. It's the nature of how they play.
Okay.
They make risky passes. They take risky shots. To a degree, you have to allow Steph Curry to do that. He's proven that he can do that at a high level. To me, what hurt them last night in particular, there was a number of possessions, whether it was defensively or offensively, where Jordan Poole just lost the possession. Bad pass, bad shot, bad defense. He's got to be better 100%.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.